Hello friends, it's nice to have you once again. Today we shall be considering work in physics. What is work? When do we say work is done? Today we are going to explain all that. And so in physics, if you lift a book, do you know you've done work? In physics, do you know that if you push an object and that object moves, do you know it's work? Now let's start with definition of work. Work is done when a force moves through a distance. And so when force is applied on an object, for instance, I push a bag and then the bag moves through a distance. Let's say it moves from point A to point B, work is done. And so we say that work in physics has been achieved because a distance has been covered as a result of the force applied. So let me put it this way. If, for example, I lift a bag or I lift a book, work is done. Why do we say work is done? Because the force I applied in lifting the book has changed the location of that book through a horizontal distance. The same thing applies when I push an object. But what about I try to push the wall? Let's say I'm pushing up this wall, I'm pushing it with all my strength. I applied force, I pushed the wall. You see, because the wall doesn't move, I have not done work in physics. Work is done when force moves through a distance or when an applied force makes an object moves from one point to the other in the direction of the force. So I hope it's clear. So for work to be done in physics, two factors have to be considered. One, force have to be applied. Two, there should be movement, there should be a distance covered in the direction where the force is applied. And what I mean is that I push an object and it's moving in the direction I am pushing it. It shows that work has been done in physics. So it's best to understand these two differences. So let's say I'm carrying a bag of cement on my head and I'm standing and I'm sweating and I'm tired and I am hungry. I just standing there. In physics, you've not done any work. You have not done any work. Do you know why? Because you have not moved. The work, you are just standing at a spot. What you have just done is you have just used effort. You have just used your force without moving through any distance. But if you carry that load and then you move for a distance, like move from this point to another location, you've done work. Yes, you can calculate work in physics, okay? So please understand that work is done when force is applied and then distance is covered in the direction of the force. Remember, two people can be doing the same thing, but one would be standing at a point, the other person is moving, or both of them applying force. One would be said to do work in physics, and the other would be zero work. No work is done because the formula for work in physics is force times distance. The formula for work in physics is force times distance. And if you have force, but there is no distance, it's equal to zero. Why is it zero? Because you want to calculate for work, your force is, let's say you have a force of 10 Newton, and then you multiply by zero distance. You have to multiply it, and anything multiplied by zero is equal to zero. And so the work done is zero. And the unit for work is the joules. The unit for work is the joule. So why do we even begin to talk about work in physics? This is because work is one of those fundamental topics we discuss in the introductory classes because it helps us to understand other topics like energy, machines, and some other things that you need to understand in physics. So it's like understanding A and before jumping to B and C and D. If you don't understand A, in English, it's difficult to understand other topics. So understanding work is very important. Every physics student needs to understand work. You need to understand the definition for work. You need to understand the formula for work. You also need to understand the unit of work. So like I said, as a recap, I said that work is done when a force moves through a distance in the direction of that force. I said that the unit for work is the joules, and the formula for work is force times distance. Those in secondary school, SS1 especially, you should know this by now. If you're entering SS1, you should watch this video, understand the difference between regular work and physics work. As you're coming into physics class, you should be able to stand tall to explain what physics means to anybody. Say that work is done when force moves through a distance in the direction of the applied force. See you in the next video. If you love this video, try to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Bye-bye.